First of all, I want to thank you for a great interest in our previous video. So in our second video with you, we are going to talk about lease contracts and what are the rights of tenants and landlords. First question, can a foreigner rent a house in Turkey? Yes. The second question is there any special regulation regarding foreigners renting a house in Turkey? The answer is both yes and no. If you need a residency permit, you will need a notarized contract regarding your lease agreement with the landlord. But if you're not gonna need any residency permit regarding that lease contract, no, there's no need to do anything special because you're a foreigner. Because regarding regulations of Immigration Office of Turkey, you need a notarized lease contract if you are gonna apply for residency permit. The third question is, what are the duties of the landlord towards his tenant? First, clear the past. So the landlord have to pay all the previous bills and the other fees must be paid regarding the property. The second thing he has to do is to deliver the property suitable to live in. If there is a thing that prevents you from living in, it has to be taken care of by the landlord. The next question, what are the things that we especially be careful about on the lease contract? First, the rent amount must be written on the contract. And secondly, the yearly increase rate of the rent amount must be written on the contract. It is very important because sometimes landlords want to make huge amounts of increase regarding the rent amount. To prevent that, we have to put the increased amount in the contract. Most of the time, the increased amount is stated by Consumer Price Index of Turkey. The other thing we should be very careful about is the deposit amount and the conditions of the refund of the deposit. The other thing we should be careful about is there should be both parties' personal information, ID information, not the real estate agent's personal information only. No, we have to get the personal information of the landlord. It's very important when something comes up regarding this legal relationship. And the other thing must take part in the contract is lease term. How long this contract and this relationship will take, because it will be very important when it comes to end the relationship. The next question, can landlord ask the tenant leave the property before the lease contract ends? Can he do this? The answer is no. Legal regulations are very strict about this, and the only way to do this, his personal needs for this property, he must be in need for this property, or if the tenant doesn't pay the rent at all. And the question before, we talked about the term of the contract. This is why it's so important to put the term of the contract in written, because when it ends, most of the rights of you ends too. And from the other perspective, what if the tenant wants to leave before the contract term ends? In that case, you have to send a written notice to the landlord and give him 3 months of notice time. If he finds that another tenant in this time, it's okay, no problem. But if he can't find, there must be a compensation. Next question, what are the legal fees of real estate agents? The legal commission of the real estate agent is 1 month of rent. And I want to clarify the deposit issue more, because most of the disputes arises from the deposit issue. It's a common practice regarding rent contracts. It's okay to give deposit, but the thing you should be careful about, write all the conditions of the house strictly in the contract. because sometimes landlords doesn't deliver the property in very good conditions, but when it comes to refund the deposit, they ask for the fresh paint or some extra things, and you cannot prove the first situation of the property. So it's okay, it's common to give deposit, but please be careful about the contract. The next question we have, what is landlord entitled to do if the tenant doesn't pay the rent properly? The legal regulation says that the landlord must send a written notice to the tenant and give the tenant 30 days to pay the rent, and if he doesn't pay, he has right to start a file for the eviction. And when he gets the eviction decision from the court, he has right to force you to evict the property. Sometimes landlords threaten the tenant with things that actually he has no right to do. First, can landlord go into house without asking the tenant, even he doesn't pay the rent? The answer is no. It's very clear. He has no right to go into the house. He has no right to change the lock, and he has no right to take your property, your stuff, your furniture from the house. He has no right to do any of this stuff. No. And what happens if the property is sold to another person? The law is very clear about this issue. The new owner, if he doesn't want to continue the rent contract, has to send a legal notice in 30 days and say, I don't want to maintain the relationship, please evict the house. After that, he has to wait for 6 months to start an eviction case. After 6 months, he has right to do that, and you have to evict the house. The other question, can tenant make modifications in the house? The legal regulation regarding that issue is if it's ordinary and necessary modifications, yes, you can do whatever you want. But if it's extraordinary or unnecessary, you have to ask for permission of the landlord. Thank you for watching us, and if you have any questions, please leave on the comment section, and see you again on the next video.